Looks like an SUV, drives like a hatchback, but you still get all the benefits of that raised ride height. The X1 is the best car in this class to drive.
BMW thought it was onto something when it launched the original X1 back in 2009, 2010. It was a kind of jacked up estate car rather than a full-on SUV. It defined the idea of a crossover. And yet, as the market progressed, people decided they wanted more than just a bit of plastic cladding. They wanted a raised ride height, they wanted a big boot, they wanted space for the entire family. So for its second generation, the X1 grew. It became more of an SUV. It even spawned a sleeker X2 kind of coupe SUV variant. Now for 2023, the X1 is back. It's all new, it's a little bit bigger again, it's more grown up, and there's more choice than ever before.
We're not joking either. You may have noticed the green flash on the number plate. In addition to the usual petrol, diesel and plug-in hybrid powertrains, the X1 is also available as an EV, an electric vehicle. Don't worry if you're not quite ready to make the switch though. We'll use this video review to look at all the different X1 models to make sure you pick the right one for you.
You don't need me to run you through the changes here on the outside because, well, there aren't really that many. In fact, the X1 is one of BMW's more restrained modern day designs. You only need to look at the iX, the 4 Series, even the 2 Series Active Tourer. Actually, the X1 is really just an evolution of what went before. It's a bit different in here though, and well, first things first, and this is a gripe, BMW has fitted its iDrive 8 infotainment system. No bad thing in itself, although it is a little bit less intuitive to use than it was before. No, our biggest issue is that the BMW have removed the central click wheel from here on the centre console, just like they did in the Active Tourer, and well, that means it's just not as easy to operate, either when you're sitting still, like we are, or doubly so on the move. It's such a shame, it just feels like a massive backward step, and the same can't be said of the layout. We mentioned earlier that the X1 had grown up, and nowhere is that more evident than from sitting here in the driver's seat.
What you see here is standard across the range, even on the entry-level Sport. You also get 2-zone climate control, ambient lighting and heated front sport seats, which are, well, lovely and comfortable, might we add. You perhaps don't sit as high as some might like you do in a Range Rover Evoque for example, but it does give the X1 a more driver-focused feel. Guess that's harking back to this car's roots slightly.
Quality is fantastic too, like really good, easily a match for Mercedes GLA, which when it launched a couple of years ago was as good as any car in this market. Everything you touch feels really luxurious and well engineered. This steering wheel, it's nice and thick, you'll either love it or you hate it, but it's a typically BMW thing, but it certainly doesn't feel cheap. Otherwise, in terms of storage, you're pretty well catered for. You've got this massive space under here, under the centre console. You've got a couple of cup holders, a big wireless charging pad, nice glove box, and some door bins as well.
You can spec your new BMW X1 in one of 3 trim levels, Sport, X-Line or M Sport. Sport comes as standard with 17-inch alloys and LED lights, plus that slick infotainment system with a reversing camera, sat-nav, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also get wireless phone charging and a powered boot lid. Engine or styling upgrades aside, this should be all the car most people will ever need. But to get the bigger engines, all-wheel drive or indeed an electrified powertrain like we have here, you'll need to step up. Mid-spec X-Line is probably a sweet spot with its fake leather upholstery, electrically operated driver's seat and sliding rear seats, but M Sport will no doubt prove popular with its racier body kit, even larger 19-inch wheels and part leather seats. Full specs, as always, are available at carbuyer.co.uk.
There's definitely a BMW-ness to the way this new X1 drives, much like there was with the old one. That's despite the fact that that car switched from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive, a very un-BMW thing to do at the time. But in all honesty, I don't think many people are going to notice, and I think of those people, even fewer of them are going to care. And anyway, most X1s these days come with xDrive all-wheel drive as standard, including this electric iX1. I guess the biggest difference switching from, say, a Volvo XC40 or a Mercedes GLA into an X1 is that it feels much more like a hatchback to drive than an SUV. And that's got nothing to do, or very little to do, with the seating position, because you still sit raised up, you still get that commanding view of the road. But instead, the X1 just feels so much more secure and so much more planted than you would expect an SUV like this to feel? Turn in and the nose dives neatly into the corners. There's very little body lean, grip is very good, and with the exception of the entry-level 18D diesel, well, the engines feel more than powerful enough for everyday duties. The top spec petrol, the 23i, does 0-60 in about 7 seconds. It feels more like a hot hatch than an SUV.
In addition to those engines we already mentioned, there's a less powerful 20i petrol and a punchier 23D diesel, the latter capable of around 55 mpg despite its useful slug of power and torque. Company car drivers will no doubt favour this electric iX1, more on that in a moment, or one of the two plug-in hybrids, the more expensive of which boasts 322 bhp. That's more than a Volkswagen Golf R, and yet it has the ability to slash your running costs versus one of the pure petrol or diesel cars. But they are heavier and not quite as BMW to drive.
All of the X1s that we've tried have been quiet. The XC40 maybe just about has the edge in this respect, but there's not a lot in it. The petrol versions and the diesel versions, the gearbox can be a little bit slow to respond at times, especially from a standstill, but the faster you go, the smoother it becomes. It's certainly not too much cause for concern. None of this is an issue if you go for the all-electric iX1. You get 313 brake horsepower, which is almost as much as the top spec plug-in hybrid, and all of that is available in an instant. 0-62 miles an hour takes 5.6 seconds. There is absolutely no reason in any world that a family car needs to be this fast. If there's one area of the driving experience that we do take issue with, it's the ride. It's just a little bit too firm. Okay, a BMW Speciality, some may argue, but in reality, it just never truly settles. It's particularly bad around town. Okay, it's a little bit better on X-Line cars like we've got here. M Sport cars are worse, but the truth is that it pretty much comes down to the fact that despite the fact all cars get adaptive dampers, as a driver, you can't adjust them, so you can't slacken them off and make the car feel a little bit more comfortable. Instead, the car decides how to set things up, and by looking at the road ahead and judging the way you're driving, it sets them up accordingly. It could be really clever. In reality, it just isn't.
We touched on running costs briefly already, and there's no doubt that plug-in hybrids will appeal to company car drivers not quite ready to make the switch to a fully electric car. But it's this iX1 that BMW reckons will eventually account for 2/3 of X1 sales. Its 64.7 kilowatt-hour battery will officially do 270 miles on a charge. Take that at least 200 on a cold day. We've been seeing around 230 to 240 miles with the temperature hovering at around 10 degrees. That's competitive and more than enough for most people to run one as their only car.
The new BMW X1 is 53mm longer than before, and there's an extra 20mm in the wheelbase. That's the distance between the front and the rear wheels. So back here and in the boot, it is a more spacious car than before. I'm just over 6 foot tall, and I've got just enough knee room there and plenty of headroom, even with the optional panoramic roof. But there is space back here to fit 3 across the back. The only kind of downside is that this centre console does stretch out into the rear cabin, but there isn't too much of a transmission tunnel, which you might expect given that this car is based on a petrol and diesel platform. Elsewhere, you can recline the seats forward and back, and on all models from the X-Line and above, certainly on the petrol and diesel cars, you get a sliding rear bench, but that's not the case on the electric models, unfortunately. In terms of storage and things like that, you've got some door bins, enough for some cups and some nets on the back here, but otherwise you're pretty short of features. There's no 3 or 4 zone climate control, just a couple of USB slots down there. That's about it. The cabin's big, but the boot, well, certainly compared to rivals, is even bigger. This is 540 litres. That's more than a Volvo XC40, that's more than an Audi Q3, that's almost more than a BMW X3, and that car sits in the class above. Okay, not this one, this is an iX1, so it's 50 litres down on the standard petrol and diesel models, but it's still a good shape, a good size. You've got some space under here for the charging cables, and well, you can fold the seats down 40, 20, 40, and it gives up 1,600 litres of space. It's just a big, nice, boxy space, and well, as a family man, that can make all the difference.
Right, deal maker and deal breaker time. There's so much choice: petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid or full electric. Hopefully after this video you know which one might be right for you, but whichever, BMW has got you covered. Looks like an SUV, drives like a hatchback, but you still get all the benefits of that raised ride height. The X1 is the best car in this class to drive. Our last dealmaker is a given. This cabin is stunning. Quality is on point, as it should be in a car costing more than 50 grand. But the tech looks, and for the most part feels, fantastic too. We say for the most part because while it's all there, we just wish BMW still offered its intuitive click wheel. Its removal feels like a step back. Putting everything into a touchscreen just makes using that tech a little bit harder. Radio, screen. Nav, screen. Heated seats, it's all in the screen. The X1 is quiet and perfectly capable of long drives, even in electric form, but the ride is a little firm. We'd like to be able to soften off the suspension just a little bit more.
Now that BMW has an SUV for every occasion, there was a risk that the X1, its smallest, cheapest offering, could get lost in the noise. Competition is fierce in this area of the market, and customers, they're a fickle bunch. The good news is though, apart from a few small foibles, the X1 is better than ever. It drives like a BMW should, it's big, it's spacious. Okay, prices have crept up, but that's the case across, well, most of the market nowadays. If you're after a small, premium SUV, the X1 puts its rivals in the shade.
If you like this video, then why not watch our review of the Mercedes GLA or our family cars playlist. Thanks for watching.